Old ass bitch. Anyways, let's do some studying. Let's do some boring ass studying, guys. This is not going to be a fun session. I'm just going to be reading to myself, essentially. Yo, Jerry, thank you for joining. What the fuck? Nah, my girlfriend's watching 90 Day Fiance, and they literally have some bitch giving birth. You better not be like that, babe. It's just giving me fear. What the fuck? That's some crazy shit. I'm just gonna close my eyes. Bailey's over here watching some lady give childbirth on fucking TV. I'm not gonna be looking at that. I'm not gonna be looking at that. Anyways, what am I doing here? See if I can find some programming videos that I want to react to. Not even react, but what am I talking about? That I want to watch to learn. The 6 code interview concepts. I'm looking at my playlist here. Whiteboard coding interview, 6 steps to solve any problem. I wanted to see this from yesterday.
So one thing I want to talk about today is how to ace that technical interview. And this is really one of the hazing processes of getting a job in tech.
Annoying.
You got to get into a room with another developer or someone you've just met. They're going to introduce themselves to you, and they're going to give you a problem, and you have to solve it on a whiteboard, which is totally unnatural. I get it. Usually you don't code on a whiteboard. Usually you're working with people that you know. So it's a pretty intimidating process for entry-level developers. Actually, to be honest, it's intimidating for everyone. It's one of those things where even to this day, when I'm interviewing for technical jobs, I still get nervous about it. Even though I've done hundreds of them, I've been on both sides of the table, and I've also, I've practiced a lot of coding problems throughout my lifetime. It still makes me nervous. So
practicing coding problems is so fucking stupid.
that's very natural. I wouldn't be upset that you're nervous about it. It's just something to practice for. So at Full Stack, we've invented a method that we like to call the Reacto approach to solving interview questions. So it's REACTO. Nothing to do with the React framework. It's just something that, as I was coming up with the acronym, I wrote them out, kind of the exact steps, and Reacto was the acronym that came out. So what does Reacto stand for?
I'll give him a chance. Let's see what he has to say.
Give examples, describe your approach, implement the code, test the code, and then talk about optimization. All right, so let's start with R. Repeat the question. You won't believe how many times I'm in the interview room with a candidate, and I'm excited for the candidate, and we're having a good chat, and then we get to the programming question, and I say, implement this thing, and the first thing they do is they take the cap off the pen, and they start writing on the whiteboard before they even really understood the question. And I can tell because the first step they say is something, and I just know they're going to go down the wrong path. Now, one secret is that when you're interviewing with somebody, people like to use the questions they're comfortable with. So very likely they've done this question 100 times, and this is the first time you're seeing it. So they already know all the paths that you can go down that are going to be incorrect. So you go on the wrong path immediately, and that immediately puts the whole interview into a tough foot. So the first thing you should do is really just repeat the question, and that will oftentimes help you understand it better, and B, really make sure that the things that you don't understand, you can work out with the interviewer as you're going through the repeating of the question.
Yo, Rob, thank you for joining, bro. Yeah, this is day 10 of the grind. Today we're going to be focusing maybe on linked lists, which is a simple topic. But I wanted to watch this video about the coding interviews first.
The second thing is just
And also, I'm going to go back to the whiteboard in a second and write out those 2 algorithms we worked on yesterday. Just write them out from scratch again from memory, just to make sure I'm not misremembering anything.
writing out various examples. So before you even write out any code, write out, hey, here are the parameters that I'm going to pass into my function, and what do I expect to get out, right? So just create a little table, a two column table, and say, given these parameters, what output do you expect, right? This is another way to really just understand what exactly the question is asking.
What I'm starting to understand with these job interviews, something I didn't understand the first time I went to go get a software engineering job, is that you need to approach the question they ask you like it's a job task. So all of the steps that we follow on a normal job task, you need to follow them the same way in the interview. And I feel like in the past, I would just jump to trying to answer the question or just be very superficial about it. But I think that when I get my first interview, which by the way, I was supposed to have an interview today, but he sent me an email about 15 minutes ago. He rescheduled for tomorrow. He didn't tell me. Let me message him and ask him. Oh, it's at 3? It's probably going to be at the same time tomorrow, but I'll ask him in a minute. But my point is that when they do the questions, this time when I go into a job interview and I get my technical question, I'm going to pretend just like it's a task, like one of those tasks that I would do at the job. I'm going to be like, yo, okay, so we should probably refine the question here. Can we story point it? I'm going to go through all the fucking steps like a boss. Ain't no way I don't get a job, chat. I'm going to treat it just like a normal acceptance criteria task that we would do in Jira.
Because you oftentimes will get a lot of understanding by just understanding input, output, right? You're trying to, one way to think about this is that this problem is a black box. How can you start understanding what's inside the black box before you know, given something into the black box, what comes out on the other side? So list out examples. This is another great way to get the conversation, keep the conversation flowing, and make
AI is wrecking, it looks like. Yeah.
Now,
Amazon and Keg.
Step A, describe your approaches, right? So start talking about the approaches you're going to take. Are you going to look for a recursive solution, an iterative solution, a heuristic solution? So give the interviewer some insight into your logic and thought process and really help them understand kind of the track that you're going down, so that you also get a little bit of read on if you're on the right path by how they respond to your question. So if you say, you know what, I'm going to take a recursive approach, and they look at you like, excuse me, then you know that you're probably on the wrong path, right? So if you say, well,
you might be on the wrong path, or you might be on the right path. You don't know. Sometimes the person interviewing doesn't know jack shit. You never know. You might be able to come up with a solution that they haven't even thought of yet.
Approach, and like, okay, that makes sense. Then you're playing the interviewer a little bit as well as playing the question. So take some time to talk about your approach. Again, oftentimes people will give advice, keep talking in interviews, and what they really mean is this kind of stuff, right? Keep talking about your thinking, not what's going on in the code. And you realize, like, there's 3 things that you've done. You probably spent about 5 minutes, and you haven't taken the marker out of the case and started writing the board. All right, so after you talked about your approaches and you've confirmed the approach, you say, this is how I'm going to take. Usually the interviewer will give you some sense that you're on the right path. Then you start writing on the code, going down the path of writing code. So C in Reacto is for code. And, there's so many things I could say about code.
You know what I don't like too? When you do the whiteboard tests, it's not inside of an IDE. It's just like a notepad. So there's no way for you to know if you're doing it right or wrong. You don't have autocomplete. You don't have anything. You literally have nothing. I hate it.
Dive into those further. If you have questions, leave a comment below. I'd love to talk about how do you actually code these different kind of problems. We have all kinds of different thoughts and ways to break.
That's even worse.
But one thing that I really like, and I heard this.
He says AI is gonna give me that's even worse, bro. I don't want no AI fucking generated question.
From the author of Cracking the Coding Interview, Gail McDowell herself. And she calls this breadth first coding. So I'll give you a link to the talk she gave at Full Stack on breadth first coding. And the idea here is it's a little bit of a hack, right? Because in programming, we like to decompose our work into functions, right? And so exactly the same thing here, decompose your approach down into the high level functions instead of into the really what I say more like the imperative things that you're doing. So for example, instead of writing out a for loop to iterate over some part of an array or to iterate over some data structure, just write iterate data structure parentheses the data structure comma whatever, right? And then the idea here is that you're breaking down from a high level your approach into smaller steps, right? So we call this idea breadth first coding, and I'll tell you a little bit why I think this is really an amazing hack. Is that really a lot of times you can get really caught up on something that's trivial, but it become kind of quite complex in the minutia, right? And so those can be things like a regex, right? You can really spend a lot of time
Regex. Oh, dude, if they gave me a regex in a interview, I'm just turning off the camera. I'm just walking out. Who the fuck knows regex by memory? This is why I said this is so fucking stupid, because usually when you're on the job, if you do happen to get a situation where you're stuck and you can't figure it out, like, dude, you can just use Google or a cheat sheet, or now I guess ChatGPT. He says fresh college kids. Yeah, I know. Who the fuck knows regex, bro? That's crazy. That's actually fucking insane. First of all, my entire time working at the company where I was at, we only used regex maybe 2 times ever. One was for like some sort of search function and one was for a map. And nobody knew that shit by memory. You know? We just searched up what we needed. Nobody knows this shit by memory. It's stupid. Dumb. Waste of fucking time. It doesn't prove if a person's a good engineer or not.
Sometimes when I'm working on a regular expression, I'll spend a lot of time before I get it right. And you can really get caught up on that stuff. You can really get caught up on loop boundaries. You can really get caught up on the different naming of variables. And these are things that it's just not worth spending the time on when you're still thinking about the problem from a high level down to a low level. And oftentimes, if your approach is right, your core algorithm is right, then the fact that you wrote out, hey, this step is check the regex of this string, the interviewer won't even ask you to go implement it because they kind of assume that, as long as they understood that this is what they need to do.
Later today, Rob, I think I am going to make some job related videos, maybe 1 or 2. So that's a good idea. One of them is going to be definitely about sticking at a job for 5 years in tech. That's a death sentence. I don't know what I'm going to call it. I really don't know what I'm going to say. I'm going to have to write out the points like you said that one day so I can take some notes so I can kind of have a guide, a skeleton of what I want to talk about on that video. And then the next one's going to be about AI. Yeah. This AI shit is getting me in my fucking feelings. I'm not going to lie.
Point, I'm okay with that. The underlying details aren't that important. All right, so after you've done the coding, some additional tips, right? So leave yourself room between each line for edits, right? Writing on a whiteboard is not coding in VS Code or coding in Sublime Text. It's really hard to edit, right? You can't really move stuff around. So write out big and with a lot of space in between each one, because most likely you're going to go back, erase, you're going to insert some lines, and once you start writing like insert here arrow and a small little thing, small code everywhere, it gets hard for you to understand and hard for the interview to understand. It really
ridiculous
starts becoming a mess, a jumble to work on. The second thing,
it's like, why would they even do this way? It's 2025. Let us do the fucking test in the IDE. This whole whiteboard thing came about from like the 1970s, man. They're still using a 1970 fucking technique. Nobody uses whiteboards. Just use a fucking IDE. God damn it. We have computers for a reason. It's so stupid.
Is star things that you're not sure about, right? So
ridiculous.
You're going through, there'll be some things where you're very confident and some things where it's tickling in the back of your mind that, what, I should go back and check this. I'm going to just say it here and, leave a star and say, what, I'm pretty sure this is how this function works, or I'm pretty sure these are the parameters of array reduce, or I'm pretty sure X.
I'm gonna remember this shit by memory.
it shows that your confidence level matched to the interviewer's understanding of your confidence level and what you're saying. Because oftentimes, if you're semi-sure about something and you don't convey that you're only semi-sure about it, and it might come off as, okay, this person doesn't know what they're talking about.
Maybe I should just grab my money, Rob, and start a business that's completely unrelated to tech. Because this shit seems so much like it just seems so much like a fucking hassle, bro. Oh my God. Just thinking about this makes my head hurt. Just thinking about it makes my head hurt, man.
So always try to signal to the interviewer that your confidence level in what you're saying. And really, a lot of times, it's okay to use pseudocode in the interview. Most good companies or most good interviewers, they're not there to see that you know your JavaScript syntax. They're not there to see that you've memorized Mozilla Developer Network.
I hope not.
They want to see how you break down a problem. And so it's okay to use pseudocode. So for example, if there's something that you're just, a section of code, or maybe you've broken down the code into these three major things, and this one function, you can't really figure out the syntax for it, feel free to just pseudocode it out. Just write it out in English, and you'll get back to them about it. All right, so the fifth step.
I would hope they're not looking at syntax, because why would they even care? You saw me typing up code yesterday, Rob. Why would they even care about syntax? That's what the IDE exists for. The integrated development environment, IDE, that's what it exists for. It will correct your syntax while you're typing the code. Like these people, bro, they're just doing this. You know why they do this? They do this because it's a way to filter out people who didn't go to college. That's just the truth.
Is to test, right? So after you've written your code, you're feeling relieved. You're like, okay, I got something on the board. Now, it's very important to show your diligence and go back and say, well...
The problem I have, Rob, is I'm a fearful person, bro. And I wouldn't want to grab all my money and invest it in something and then have it fail. But truth is, it's probably my best bet. My best bet would probably be to do that. To go open up a business, doing something mundane. Go buy some fucking semi-trucks, or go buy a dump truck or two, or go buy some tow trucks, or start a plumbing company, or start a landscaping company, or start some company that does some fucking mundane task. And who knows, maybe I would be better off doing that than trying to get back into tech, or even starting a hiring firm or something like that. But the problem is that hiring firms, anything that has to do with tech, I feel like it has a short runway because of AI.
Take some of those examples I wrote down earlier and run them through my code, right? So choose a set of parameters and just run it through. And one thing I like to do is get another color marker.
This is the last tech job I'm going to get.
As you're going through the process, right? So you're saying, okay, A here is 1. This loop, I is 0. As I'm going through the initial loop, here's the different steps that I'm thinking it's taking. And then here's what it's changing, et cetera, right? So go through and test your code. Run the examples and see if they actually work. This is a really important step, because if you take this step, then most likely, unless your algorithm is perfect right off the bat, most likely the interviewer is seeing some problems that they want to see if you can also see those problems. All right, and the final step, and this is the most important, or this can be one of those ones that really differentiate you from the rest of the pack, right? You've repeated the question, you've given your examples, you've described your approach, you've written the code, you've tested it, at least on the whiteboard, written out your variables. Now, last thing is the O, and this is what I call the optimization and runtime. Optimization, right? This is
optimization and runtime.
That especially beginners are a little confused about, but this is really the idea: is how will this perform for large data sets, or how does this algorithm that you've created?
I hate this stupid big O notation bullshit.
Perform under different kinds of data sets, different sizes of data. So, this is where we hear a lot of like the big O, this is big O of n, big O of n
so
squared.
Fucking ridiculous.
And, maybe you went with a brute force approach, and maybe you went with a recursive approach. So this is more, getting into approximating big O is a little bit more detailed than I want to get to in this talk. But, you really want to, as you know more about big O, just specify, here's what I'm thinking about optimization. Here's what I think. I think this loop and this inner loop is going to give me an n squared. It just shows a maturity of that you're willing to, or you're able to think at a level of, if I put this in code into production, what's going to happen to our code base? So, why do we think the reactive framework, or why did I come up with this reactive framework, right? And I think the first thing, the most important thing is to not start writing right when you get the code, right? Because here's my picture of it: is that your brain, is working on multiple levels, and as soon as you start writing, you start committing yourself into paths that could be incorrect, right? But the more you really buy yourself time, the more time your brain gets to load in all the stuff that you practice on, you've trained on. So give your brain some time to think, right? Give your subconscious.
So essentially, he's telling you to stall, which is fine. I agree with it. I agree with it. But the problem is that you're going to be under pressure. So are you going to remember to do that?
Brain some time to load stuff into memory before you.
I don't always work like that either. When I was working in the company and we would get a task, lots of the time I would just jump on it immediately, and then I would brute force whatever solution we needed, and then I would work my way backwards and I would refactor my code until it was optimized. But I guess in an interview scenario, you only have like 40 minutes usually to answer their question. And I would say that the 40 minutes is better utilized if you ask them a bunch of questions and walk through what you're going to do before you write the code. Because at least if you walk through what you were going to do and you break it down like he was saying in theory, like you do the pseudocode instead of writing real code, then if you're not able to get through the entire question with actual code, all of the questions you ask them, all of the pseudocode, all of the bullshit you fed them, I think that will give you more points than actually solving the problem with code.
Because once you start writing, I feel like you're.
It says, anybody replied back? Yes, I had a job interview scheduled for 10 o'clock today, Rob, but he rescheduled for tomorrow.
You start committing down pathways. 2, you really want to start the conversation, because once the conversation is flowing between you and the interviewer, it's a lot easier to.
It was just a recruiter, though. It wasn't the interview for the actual company. It was the recruiter.
Well, I'm a little bit.
Because I guess he's going to ask me questions first. It was a technical recruiter.
I think it would look something like, I need to somehow find a base case, or I need to figure out my recursive step, right? So the conversation continues to flow once it's started. So some additional advice is, one, just stay calm, right? You're not supposed to know the answer immediately, because, these problems are meant to take some time to take some thought and to work through, right? So focus on breaking down the problem. And I think that, these problems are a little bit unfair because, for example, one of my favorite examples is find me a cycle in a linked list, right? So you have a linked list, see if there's a loop in it. And the algorithm is named after somebody because I think they wrote about it in their PhD, or they wrote about it in some kind of thesis paper, right? So if you don't know the answer, or if you don't know that trick, it's unlikely that in a situation where you're nervous, you're going to come up with it on the spot, right? So it is a little bit of a test that, not that you're like it's some genius that can figure out all.
I literally don't even know what he's talking about. A cycle in a linked list? What's that even mean? Does he mean a number in the linked list that you can pick that begin, like, for example, there's a number that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let me think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then 4, 3, 2. Wait, let me make it longer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then you have 5, 4, 3. And then you have 8, 9, 7. Are they saying that you'd grab a number? You would start from like the 3, 4, 5, 6, 5, 4, 3, and you'd connect those two ends and make a loop? Is that what he's referring to? I have no idea what he just fucking said, bro. I have no fucking idea what he just said. Yo, Slick, thank you for joining, bro. He says, here to drop in my daily view.
Your signs in a 30-minute interview, but that you've been exposed to this information, right? Because even after being exposed, you still have to kind of recall it, implement it.
Like, literally don't know what he's talking about. Shit.
The reality is,
now I'm scared.
You have to figure out these things. If you don't know the answer, sometimes that's okay, right? You can still get a job. You can still get accepted to a job even if you don't get the answer. And make it a conversation. Ask questions when you get stuck. I think this is just a human nature thing. It's very awkward to be in a room with somebody and no one's talking.
Well, yeah, of course.
Want to do a social experiment.
Trash.
Go on the street. Someone asks you something and just look at them. And as you're looking at them, you're going to see them continually get uncomfortable. They start shifting around. They're going to start, looking different directions.
Like you're a
because
maniac.
silence is very awkward. And so this is not for you because oftentimes you're the one, you're lost in
He says,
thought.
I thought he was speaking Chinese.
Your interviewer is sitting there like, whoa, I don't want to work with this person because every time they're stuck, they're just sitting there making me very uncomfortable, right? So whether or not this is fair or not, your job is to also make the interviewer comfortable and just keep talking, keep trying to verbalize what's going on in your mind, right?
Jesus Christ. I hate this fucking process, chat.
It's totally off the mark, right? You have to kind of let that conversation flow.
You need to be a bullshitter is what he's saying, and for a lack of better words.
To read the interviewer a little bit and how they're responding to your thoughts. So, and final thing, just repeat, don't start writing right away, right? It's a reflex. You want to, maybe you want to buy yourself time, or I don't know why people start writing right away. But
why did I pick this fucking industry? Why could I not pick a fucking normal ass industry where the interview is just one interview that's simple? You just talk with a person, you both talk, and then it's like, okay, you're gonna get the job. I had to pick some fucking interview where you're doing whiteboards and all this crazy shit.
Number thing to remember is don't let your hands touch the marker. Repeat, give examples, describe your approach before you even touch the marker. And really,
He said, don't touch the fucking marker.
Our students at Full Stack practice a lot, and the ones who practice a lot get good at it. They come back and tell me that it's it works like clockwork. You're in an interview, you're just thinking to yourself, reacto, 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 react. Oh, right. I hope this helps. And as always, the most important thing is to practice too. So there's a lot of practice interview platforms. Get together with a friend and really just go through the Reacto framework, practice it. And just as a caveat, don't go in there and say, "Oh, hey, interviewer, I'm using the Reacto framework. I'm gonna repeat the question." Make it.
Oh, duh.
Wants to feel like
who does that? Who would do that?
Natural. But this is what you should be thinking inside your head is the things that I'm gonna go through. So one last time, repeat the question, list your examples, describe your approach, code, test your examples, and then talk about optimization.
Okay. So before we jump into the video about linked lists and we work on some linked lists, let's open up Xcode. Let me open up Xcode here. Let's open up Xcode and let's rewrite the algorithms from yesterday and the day before yesterday from scratch. From scratch, chat. This is how you memorize. This is how you memorize and how you get a better understanding of what you're trying to do, what you're trying to learn. So we're going to write this out from scratch right now in Xcode. A little bigger. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is write my fucking array. Random number array. And I don't know if I should use random numbers for real. I won't. Let's just add some random numbers ourselves. 5, 76, 23, 98, 22, 55, 121, 32, 77. I'm so unoriginal, I can't even come up with original numbers. What are we missing here? Let's put 48. 40 there. Okay. So now we got a array of random numbers. Yo, Vin, thank you for joining the stream, bro. He says Hexspeak says you're Let's see here. We got an array of random numbers. So now let's do the first algorithm, which was the merge sort algorithm. I'm going to put func merge sort algorithm. This is going to take a parameter that is an array. List. Let's just call it list. Array of integers. It returns an array of integers. Okay. And then we also are going to make the calculate function. So it's going to be calc merge, which is called that. Okay. And we know this has a parameter that it needs of left, which is an array of integers, and right, which is an array of integers. And we know that this returns an array of integers, right? And for now, we're just going to return an empty set of integers. And then we know that this function, we already know, I kind of already know that it needs to return the array, but it's going to return it using the other function. So I already know that that's a return. I already know that the list of items, we want them to be atomized. So we want to break this down into individual numbers. We want to go down to when there's one item in each array. So we're going to add a conditional here. If list count equal to or less than or equal to 1, return list. So what this means is that after we break this array down to its core components and we have one item in each of the arrays that are getting passed into merge sort, we are going to return that list one by one. We're waiting until we have one item. We're going to return it one by one. So now we're going to make our variables var left, var right. Now we know that this is a recursive function. So in order for us to break the array down all the way to its core components, we're going to have to break it down within the left and right functions. So we're going to make merge sort here. And we're going to do merge sort again, right? We're taking in two separate arrays. Now, we know that this is going to be left. We know this is going to be right. We already know that because we know that we're going to be doing a recursive function. We know that we need the midpoint in the array. So we're going to make a variable called mid. Now, we don't need to make this variable called mid, but let's do it anyway because it's the easiest way to do this, in my opinion. So then what we're going to do is we can get the midpoint easily by just doing the count. List.count divided by 2. Right? This should give us the midpoint. That's the easiest way, in my opinion, to get the midpoint. So then now we're going to go, we want array. We want to create a new instance of an array. And in this array, we want to grab list. And we want to go from 0 to excluding the mid. And then here, we want to do the same thing, array. And we want to go list. And we want to start from the mid, excluding list.count, which is the full amount of items in here. Remember, yesterday when I was writing this algorithm, I was using list.endIndex, but I think that it's smarter for us to just use list.count because it's more clear. It's more clear. So now we have the entire merge sort function here, right? We're counting the list. We're seeing if it has less than or equal to 1. We're returning the list when it gets down to 1. We are breaking left and right down. So we're splitting this array in half recursively for each one of these. And we're using calc merge to determine what order they go in. So now in calc merge, we're going to create 3 variables. We're going to create var left equals left, var right equals right, var new list, new ordered list equals an empty set array, right? And then down here in the return, And the return, we are going to return new ordered list plus left plus right. Okay? He says, I quit my job this week. Bro, we in the same boat. Yo, Amen, thank you for joining the stream. He says, it was too much for my body. I was waking up at 3:45 a.m. just to make it there by 5 a.m. And it was pretty much a 12-hour shift. I was losing myself. Damn, bro, that's crazy. Yo, Mexness, thank you for joining the stream. He says, you quit your job, nigga? What? Are you talking to Amen, Mexness, or are you talking to me? I got let go. I got laid off. So I'm in the process of looking for a new job. And while I'm doing that, I'm just, practicing live and explaining my thought process and getting used to talking to people while I'm going through the coding process, right? He says, I was talking to you. Yeah, I got let go. I got let go. So here we go, chat. So we have the first portion, the merge sort. We have the calc merge. But as you guys can see, we have no calculations in here, right? We have a rough outline, no calculations. If I were to run this right now, you know what would happen? It would return the exact same order because there's no logic. So now let's add the logic. While left is empty and right is empty. Now you might be wondering, what do you mean is empty? These need to be false. So we need to add exclamation marks, right? Boom. Exclamation mark, which means while left and right are not empty, right? While left and right are not empty, we're going to cycle through these arrays and sort them, right? Now, there's a different way to do this. I've seen in other examples, instead of using the isEmpty method, they use isCount greater than 1, right? They use left.count is greater than 1. But this is essentially the same thing as using isEmpty. I rather use isEmpty. There's a reason why those functions exist on that class. So I think it's more concise, it's more clean, it's easier to read if you just use isEmpty. So now we add the actual conditional. And in the conditional, we write if left is less than right, else. We already know we only have one conditional here. He says, this shit's too complex for my brain. He says, make a Discord segment with one of your viewers giving you an interview. Pull questions from ChatGPT content. Oh, that's a good idea too, bro. Yo, why is Rob way more creative than me? What the fuck, dude? What the fuck? I'm like a shell, chat. I have no personality. I'm not creative. By the way, this is supposed to be left first. And this is supposed to be right dot first. Sorry about that. What we're doing here, chat, is we're checking the first item in the list of the arrays after we break them up. So we're only checking the first item of the left side, the first item of the right side, and we're comparing them. Is the left first item less than the right first item? If it is, then we're going to grab the left, but we're going to grab new ordered list, append. We're going to add a new item to it. We're going to go left, and we're going to go drop first. Drop first. Why am I getting this this error? No exact match in call to instance method. I must have typed in something wrong. Let's see. Append. No, that's it. I don't understand why it did that. left, drop first. Why is it giving me an error? There should be no error here. New ordered list is an array of integers. I'm using the append method to append a new item to the list. Why is it giving me an error? No exact matching call to instance method append. Like, what's that even mean? Here's the documentation for the append function. That makes no sense. Must be some sort of bug. It makes no sense. New ordered list. Yeah, append. Adds a new element, da 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 da. What is it talking about? I think it's not drop first, it's remove first. I think drop first returns a slice. Remove first actually returns the item. Okay. So I think we're done. We're going to cycle through these until one of these arrays is empty. So let's pretend that every single time the first element of the left array was the lesser element. We're just going to keep removing. At some point, the left array will be empty. When it's empty, this condition will no longer be true, and we will exit the loop. When we exit the loop, whatever remaining items are in the right category will already be sorted, because remember that we're doing this recursively, so it's sorting them no matter what. It's by definition, it's going to be left and right. The right items are always going to be sorted already by the time the left items are done. So this is done. This is done. So then now, what I want to do, and let's get slick with it. Let's get slick with it. We're going to do something different here. We're going to do extension array. I think this is like this. Int. Let's get slick with it. So if we do an extension on array int and we throw these functions in there like this, now we should be able to remove. Let me think. I think I can remove the list from here and replace that with self. But the problem is, if I do that, let me think. What I'm trying to do right now, chat, is I'm trying to make it so that if I go random array, I can do this. Merge sort. You see how now it's already there? But instead of it passing in, how can we do this? Maybe we need another function on top of all of this. Merge sort. Func custom merge sort. Maybe something like this. It just does this. It starts the process. So we do merge sort list. List is going to be self. And then here we return the list of integers sorted, right? It already knows it's going to return itself. So it's going to call this. This is going to do all the magic. It's going to return. It's going to procreate up this chain, and it will return itself. Let's see if this works. Let's see if this works. Custom merge sort. Custom merge sort. Let's see if it works. Here we go, chat. Let's run it. Let's see if it works. Today we're going full big brain, chat. So it's launching, it's testing. Let's see. Let's fucking go. I don't know why this has been giving me problems, so there we go. Okay. So it worked, right? So now we started out with 5, 76, 23, 98, 22, 55, 121, 32, 40. And we ran the functions and we sorted it 5, 22, 23, 32, 40, 55, 76, 98, 121, right? And we were able to do this by adding these functions to the array int class so that we don't need to type in the name of the array. Like we don't need to call merge sort and pass in the values. We can just call it right on the array. See how there's nothing here? It's just random array, custom merge sort with the constructors. So now we're going to write the algorithm for the binary search, right? Func binary search. And if you guys recall the binary search algorithm, took in the list of items. So the list, it took in the list, which was just in this case integers, and it has a key. The key is not an integer, it's an integer. It's just an integer by itself. And then it returns an integer optional, right? So then now we, and let's make this simple here. Var return int equals 0. Return int. It's fine. That's fine. That's fine. So now let's break this in half. So var start, var end. The middle we calculate while we're in the while loop, right? So var start is going to be the beginning of the array, right? So that's going to be list dot start index. Var end is going to be the end of the array. That's list dot end index -1, because this end index property on the array class is it's just a count. And you know, we can do something different here, chat. We can actually make our own. So we already have an extension on array int. We can make another function here, right? Do we want to make a function? I think we can make a property. Let's make a property called final index, right? And this is going to be an int. We can make it a computed property so that it doesn't throw an error, right? We're going to return. This is going to be self.end index -1. So now, instead of us having to do this stupid math, we can just go final index. Boom, there. We made our own property called final index. It's going to return the final index. We don't need to like do all this overthinking. You see why I'm a good engineer, chat? Because I showed you guys the first 2 days, I kind of struggled. I kind of thought about this, but now that I understand the backstory of these algorithms and I remember now we can go to more advanced strategy, right? And a more advanced strategy is being able to do all of this stuff without having to add arguments and just do everything directly in the class that it is. So instead of us having to create a fucking externalized logic by doing like list and index -1, or having to pass in an argument for the custom merge sort, we can just add them as custom functions to the array int. And that way we can just do everything internalized, and we don't need to do all of the extra legwork that's going to make everything very hard to read and more confusing. So now we write the while loop. While start is less than end, we're going to loop, right? And then we have our logic in here. If list, we need to get the midpoint. We need to get the midpoint because we haven't broken this in half yet. So var mid equals, I don't remember how I calculate this before. It was, you can do list. I can do end. End minus start divided by 2 should give us what we want. We could have also just done list.count divided by 2, but I think that this might be a better way of doing it. So n minus start divided by 2. And then in here, we're going to add the conditional if list indexed mid equals key. We're going to do something else if list. And you know what else? We don't need to do this logic like this either. We can do something better than this. Var mid value equals list index mid, like this. We can do this. And then we can get rid of this here. And we could just do mid value. And then we can do the same thing here. Mid value less than key. Else. Boom. And now in here, we can just return mid, which is the index. Because what we're trying to find here with this logic is the index. We're trying to just search through this array and find in what position is the value we're searching for, right? And then here, mid value is less than the key. So if the mid value is less than the key, right? That means we need to do a shift. We're going to change the position of the start index to mid plus 1. Because we don't want to include the midpoint. And since we already know that we're changing the start point, the opposite would be changing the end point. So if the mid value is greater than the key, that means if the mid value is greater than the key, that means the key is to the left of the mid value, which means that the end point needs to be the mid value minus 1. So we just essentially cut the array in half. We cut it in half. Okay. There. This is the whole algorithm. So now we have binary search, we have the list, we have the key. We don't need to have this as a standalone function either. So let's copy paste it into array int. And now we're going to remove list, right? We're going to remove list. And we're going to make list self. Self. I think only 2 places. Self. Right? So now that we removed this and we made it self, now we should be able to grab random number array custom merge sort, right? And in fact, remember that in order to do a binary search, the array already needs to be sorted. So we can even do something better than this. We can grab custom merge sort. So let's make a new variable, var sorted self equals self custom merge sort, right? And then we can grab this. We can replace everywhere we put self with sorted merge sort. And now we should be able to do this. Random number array, binary search. And then we can put any key we want. Let's put 40. And we should be able, let's print this out. Print. And now, optional 4 is the response we got back. If we look at the random number array binary search, we were searching for 40. If we count the position, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. There. So I think we have these algorithms on lockdown now, chat. Merge sort and binary search, we have them in lockdown. I'll continue practicing them, but we have them in lockdown because I fully understand the concept behind both of these now. There's no reason for me to even have to cycle analyze or think about them at all. It makes perfect sense now. I understand exactly how these work. So we can move on to the next thing. The next thing is linked lists. So let's look up linked lists, which is also a very simple topic. I'm not going to kill myself going through linked lists. We're going to look at the linked lists. We're going to write a linked list out. And then after we write a linked list out, we will go on to binary trees, which is actually more complicated. These so far have been very simple. I don't know if this is just simple because I've been doing programming for 5 years. And now when I'm looking at it, I can understand what's going on more than just trying to memorize it blindly. Or if I'm just, I don't know. Because this is, looking at it now, it seems very simple to me. Like, I just think I might, maybe in the past, I never really thought out the steps. But now I'm thinking about it. You get an array. We're breaking the array down to its core components. We're comparing left and right in pairs. And we're merging them back together, right? We broke it down to its core components with this right here. If count is less than or equal to 1, return the list. We found midpoint, which is just so we could split this in half into left and right. We broke it left, right. We can grab one side. It's simpler to explain. Left, right, left, right, left, right, until we only had one component. And then we started going backwards. Compare, 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 compare. It's upside down pyramid. It's basically, we're just doing an upside down pyramid. And then the binary search, very similar concept. We just broke this in half. If we were searching for, once it's organized, if we were searching for 23, we looked at the midpoint. The midpoint is 40. 40 is greater than 23. So now we know that everything over here can be thrown away. And we can keep this here, 5, 2, 23, 32. We're looking for what we're looking at, 32. So we go to the midpoint. The midpoint is 23. 23 is greater than 32. So we're going to throw away all of this shit. We're left with 32. The position of 32 is 4. No, it's 3. Boom. Simple. He says binary trees. Yeah, the binary trees is where I get a little iffy. Truthfully. But then again, remember that when I was learning binary trees and all this stuff, I had no experience as an engineer. So maybe I'm going to go back now and look at it and be like, what the fuck? This shit is easy. I don't know, bro. Look, like I said, I studied this. Somebody's calling me. Give me a second, chat. Hello, good afternoon. Yes. Oh, okay. The Lake Mary office. I'm gonna say 3:45. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Lisa. Bye. Are you okay? I'm sorry, babe. Okay, so where was I? Link lists. It just started hurting again? More? But yeah, link lists are easy. Link lists, I mean, a link list technically is basically an array, right? It's an unsorted array. But anyways, I guess in iOS, it would be called a set, essentially. You're basically just building a set from scratch. You know what reminds me what always reminds me of linked lists? When you're writing code and you're submitting it to like Bitbucket or GitHub and you make a commit and you got a series of commits, that essentially is a linked list. Git is essentially a linked list. So I am going to just grab the first video, I guess, because these videos are all extremely old and I don't know which one's going to be the best one.
Hi guys, my name is Andrew and welcome to the...
This person's whispering. I don't like their voice. Let's see how this one is.
This video, we're going to be going over what a linked
Max
list
codes.
is.
Max codes is
So
good.
whether or not you're new to algorithms and data structures or you are reviewing them, you've already gone through a class at a university like Algorithms and Data Structures, CS 24.2 or CS 24.20, something around there, then either way, you're going to be learning what a linked list is again, and you're actually going to be building out an entire linked list, a doubly linked list throughout this series. So let's go ahead and learn about what a linked list is so that we can jump into the very next video where we're actually going to start building it, okay? And if you just want to hop into that video, feel free to check out the description. I'll link the next video down there. And yeah, this is going to be a fun series where you're going to learn a little bit about this data structure and how to completely build it out. And you're going to be learning about pointers and a few other things like generics and Swift. And I really look forward to kind of teaching you all this. Okay, so let's go ahead and just hop right into it. I've written a Medium article on this, and I'm just going to kind of follow along with this article just so that I can kind of...
What I don't remember is I know you make two things. You make an actual linked list function and you make a node. The node is supposed to have a value. I mean, you can add a property called a value, and it's supposed to have a pointer back to like its parent, I think. But I can't remember how it was structured, to be honest. Because who the fuck uses a linked list in real life? Nobody.
Along with this and refresh my knowledge as I'm explaining it to you so that it can be done clearer and easier. Okay? Now, I won't link this there. If you really want to find it, you can Google it and find this, but...
Why would he not put it in the description of the video? I mean, this is a video from like 6 years ago, so I kind of understand. Like, you know, the culture, the YouTube culture 6 years ago was a little bit different. But it's like, why would you not link it?
I don't actually care if you go to this article or not. I think the videos will be just fine. Okay, so what I want us to do is kind of just talk about a linked list, okay? So a linked list is a collection of nodes, each node containing data and pointers to the previous and next node in the collection, okay? This differs from an array in that a linked list data is not ordered by a node's physical placement in memory, but instead which other nodes it is connected to. So what this means is that the only way we know where a single node is basically dependent on a previous node.
Let me show you guys really quick what I think the linked list data structure is supposed to look like. So let's make a fucking struct here, right? Struct. I think that's what we do, right? Struct. Scott's linked list, right? And then this is gonna have a property called a node, right? And the node is gonna be, I think, is just another Scott's linked list. Is gonna have a node called a property called value, which let's just make it an integer for now. Integer optional. What else? It's gonna have, he says, cannot have a stored property that's recursively contains it. Is this true? Maybe they're right. I can't remember. I thought it was recursive, but maybe it's not. So let's just say, or maybe have to be a class, maybe. He says class Scott has no initializers. The initializer is gonna be int init value int optional self dot value equals value, and node is optional. I think this is all you need, right? I think this is all you need. So I think you would do something like var new node equals Scott linked list with the value of, let's just say a value of 2. And then we have to add the functions like here. Func add. Func remove. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. I don't remember how to do this, so I'm just going off my memory. Func remove. Func update. Right. Add, remove, update. I'm trying to remember CRUD. C-R-U-D. Create, remove, update, delete. Create, remove, update, delete. Wait. What the fuck? That doesn't even make any sense. I can't remember what CRUD even stands for, but all I remember is that there's supposed to be an add, a remove, an update. So update, we're going to say update value is an integer, optional, and we're going to go to self.value equals value, right? Remove is self.node equals nil. Add is node, Scott's linked list, node, equals Scott's linked list. There. Oh shit, sorry. Node, self.node equals node. Now you guys, anybody who's in here who knows, he says create, read, update, delete. Oh yeah. I don't have a read. That's what it. Yo, I'm a fucking retard, chat. That's what it is. Create, read, update, delete. So we need a way to read the value, right? Jesus Christ. Func read. This is gonna return an int. And then it's gonna be return value. I think this is all you need, right? Return value optional. This is all you need, right? Yo, I literally don't know what I'm doing. So then now, new node, add, and then we can add a new one. And then this one's gonna be, let's just add a value of 4. And then we can just recursively add them, right? We can just add multiple ones. I don't remember when it's a linked list, if you have to add them manually like I just did. We also should have a way to cycle through them, right? If you want to search for a value in the link nodes, how would you do that? We already know that there's a node and each node is connected, right? So you should be able to go from node to node to node to node in order to search for a value, which means that it would have to be some sort of for loop, right? I'm just writing this from memory, chat. I have no idea what I'm fucking doing. Func search for value, right? And then I can add the value here. Key's going to be an integer. And then how would I go through these in a not that sophisticated way? So if self.value equals key return, how would I even know what node is which node? How would I even know which node is which node? How would I know which node is which node, chat? Because if I say return self, okay, this is supposed to be a double equal sign, but like, yes, it's going to return the node, but this is probably not the most ideal way to do this because I don't know. But if not, how am I going to cycle through all the child nodes? It's going to be node dot how would I do that? I want to cycle through all of the child nodes. But they're not an array, right? I didn't make this an array. So how would I do this? Do I need to have a function like next? I think I do. In order to go to the next item. Func child node I think I need to have something like this. Return. Return node. I think I need something like this. And then I think in here, we're going to do self.child node. How will I cycle through these? While child node not equal nil. While child node not equal nil. Node, child node. I'm thinking, chat. I'm just doing this off the cuff. While child node not equal to nil, node child node. And break the while loop, right? Break. Can I return node? Cannot find label in scope node. First of all, node.child node equals value, right? Well, child node, he says lock in unc. I'm trying to think through this, bro. How would I loop through these? I know that we have a function called child node, right? While child node not equal nil, all I want to do is go to the next item. If node dot child node in order for us to loop, this cannot be a cold function like that. It needs to be something like var node current node equals child node for the first one. And then this is going to be current node. And then we're going to check node dot child node. No, we're going to check current node dot value equals key, right? Current node dot value equals key. And then let's not put anything here. Else current node dot child node. This is going to be a recursive current node equals current node not child node. Right? remembering that current node is child node. We're going to loop through them. We're looking for the value. If it's not, we're going to change the value to this. And as long as current node is not nil, we're going to keep cycling. So then here, what do we return? If current node, can we, first of all, if we do a return inside of a while, I think it kicks us out, right? Return. Self, I think. Would it not be self? Well, no, it can't be self because we're looping. It's going to have to be current node. Return current node. This needs to be an optional. Here, if we can't find the value, return nil. Okay, I think this might work. So far we have new node, add node. We added a node with 4. So we have one that has 2, one that has 4. Let's add one more. New node, add node that has a value of 23. Value 23. So now we have 3 nodes, right? It should be the first node has a value of 2, the second node has a value of 4, the third node has a value of 23. And now we're going to do new node dot search for value key 23. But the only issue is every time we have a node, there's no way for us to identify the nodes. So if I do this and I run it, it's going to return a node. It is going to return a node. But the problem is, you know what? Var found node. So you guys can see what the problem is. Node equals this. And then let's just print found node dot value, right? It's going to print out 23. It's going to print out optional 23. But the thing is, the optional 23. So this does work. This logic does work. But there's no way for you to identify which node we're on because the nodes don't have any identifying fucking property. Like, it just has the node and the value. That's all it has. There needs to be like a count. So what we can do is here, var index, does be node index, is equal to 0, right? He says you could assign an ID to each node. That's what I'm going to do. Absolutely. So node index equals 0. When we add a value, self node, when we add a new value, we're going to grab the node index, right? So self equals node. Yeah. This is the node. We're going to add node dot node index equals plus equals 1. Does that work? No, we can't do it like that. Equals node index plus 1. This is what it needs to be. So that each time we add one, it grabs the value of the nodes before it, right? It grabs the values of the nodes before it, and it adds a value to it. So now this node should have value 0, 1, 2. It should have value 2. So instead of us calling node value, let's call node index and it should be a value of 2. Okay, it's 1 for some reason. So I must be doing something wrong, right? We start at 0. The first index is going to have 0. When we add another value, like this one's going to look at the 0. It's going to add 1 to it. 1. Why is this not 2? It should be 2. There's something I'm doing wrong. Let's think about it. Let's think about it. Node. Oh, I see. This is wrong. This needs to be node index. Node index. Node index plus 1 when it's added, right? No, it's still not right. This does need to be node. This needs to be created. Okay, we need to make a variable. Var new node. And then here, it's going to be node index plus 1. And then here we add node, new node. This is going to be node, new node. We make this the new node dot node index equals node index plus 1. So now we grab the current node index, we add 1 to it, and we assign that to the property of node index of the new node, and then we pass that value to be the new node that's getting assigned. I think now it should be 2. It's still 1. Maybe I'm a fucking idiot. Maybe I'm actually stupid, chat. Let me think. What am I doing wrong here? Oh, yeah. We have 0, 1, 2. When we added the first item, when we created the first instance of new node, that one should have had an index of 0, right? When we added the second node, that node should have an index of 1, right? Why would it not have an index of 1? We already have node index, which is 0. It's just the default value is 0. We grabbed node index plus 1. Let me just add another index. Let me just add another node and see what fucking happens, because I don't know. I'm confused. Let's add a node called 55. And let's change this to 55. Let's run it again and let's see if it's still 1. It's still 1. It's not changing. Why is it not changing? We're adding a new node, right? We passed in a node. We added a new node. This is the new node. Boom. New node. We changed the index of the new node. 0 plus 1. Right? 0 plus 1. That's going to be 1. New node value is 1. We assign the value. So the first item should have a value of 1. Oh, I see. I see what the problem is. I'm adding all of them to the first box. Do you see what the problem is? I'm adding all of them to the first box. For this to work, I needed to do this. And this is still a stupid, not good way to do this. But I would need to do this, and I would need to do something like return new node. Maybe. Needs to be this. And then this would work. But and now it's value 3 for 55. 0, 1, 2, 3. But this is stupid. This is actually stupid. He says, is it recognizing the node as an object? No, I was changing the value on the first node. I only made one variable, var1 new node, and then I had new node multiple times. I was just calling this same function on the same one over and over again. I was calling this on the same one over and over again instead of it going to the next item. But anyways, guys, this is just from memory. Like all of this shit I just wrote was all from memory. I don't know if it's right or if it's wrong, if I'm fucking an artard. Like I said, it was all from memory. So let's go see what the actual experts have to say, right? Because I might just be talking out my ass.
Okay, if we don't have access,
It's a good little experiment, though.
then we're not really going to be able to see the rest of our nodes. And this is probably very confusing to some of you who have never seen this before, but please just follow along and go through every single one of these videos in the YouTube series here. And I promise you, you will gain a better understanding of linked list by the end of this series. Okay, so just despite the confusion, just keep going. You got this. Okay, so this is a singly linked list, and you can see these little arrows. Okay, up here where I say we have pointers to the previous and next node in the collection, you'll see that this arrow is the next node pointer. Okay, we don't have a previous one here because this is a singly linked list. Okay, so we can keep track of the next node with a next node pointer. And again, this is going to make a lot more sense when we start coding it up and you can actually see the code. Okay, now again, we're going to be creating a doubly linked list, and the doubly linked list contains it contains a next node as well as a previous node pointer. Okay, now what you'll notice here is that there's no arrow pointing to this first node here, and that's because this is the first node inside of our linked list. And on the last node,
That's be nil.
is no pointer pointing back. Now, there's another way of approaching this, and it's called a circular linked list. And what you can actually do is have this last node reference the first node. So think of it like a loop or a circle, and then you can have this one be pointing all the way back. Okay, so we're not going to be doing that because that's not traditionally how a linked list works. We're just going to be leaving this one and this one nil. Okay, you can see here under the head and tail that the first and last nodes are referred to as the head and the tail, but they're the left or the previous node on the head is nil, and the next node on the tail is nil. Okay, so again, this will make more sense when we get to the coding, but I just kind of want to give you an introduction to this so that when
The only time absolute truthful that I've ever really ran into using this on a day-to-day basis is with fucking what's it called? Git. When I did Git, I always thought of it as a linked list, right? You know, when you're like doing like the you're what is it? Reflogging, or you're rebasing, or you're doing a commit. Like, I always thought of that as a linked list. I wrote up a program in C that handles all of the logic you need to be able to like search for a commit, search for a branch, make the commits, remove commits, rebase. And the way I structured the code for that I wrote in C was as if it was a linked list. And I used that shit every single day at my job. I used it so much that I cannot even remember how to use the normal commands, like, which is actually bad. You know, it's really bad when you come up with a tool and you use the tool. You're so proficient on a tool that you made yourself. You've locked in 100% on that tool to the point where now you're dependent on that tool and you forget like what it's based off of, like the underlying principle of the tool. Here, I can pull it up on my GitHub really quick. I'll show you the tool. I don't want to give away my whole GitHub, but I will show you. Let's see here. I will show you. I had it. I'll show you some of the code. It's very simplistic. It's not anything too crazy. So in this project, the project I wrote was called Git Master. A simple C util for Git, quickly search for and check out remote branches along with additional list features. Installation is simple. Compile binary file, move into your user local bin on a Mac, give the binary proper permissions, and you'll be good to go. Common use, there's a command git master. This will query all branches in a repo and return a list of available branches to check out. Then I had the operators, and I had like amend existing commits, amend latest commit with the current changes, apply, create the commits, change a commit, reset the branch, rebase, and stash. And all of these were pretty good. I mean, the commit, you could put your commit message, it would save all your changes. It would save all the changes under that commit message. Reset would allow you to reset the branch by whatever the amount is and stash those changes with the description. And you could just use the description of the commit you wanted. And then you could use the stash command to do the same thing, essentially. These two things basically do the same, except that this resets the head of the branch. And then rebase allows you to reset the branch head and rebase to remote or local branches, which was also pretty cool. Let me show you some of the code. Actually, this is just how I wrapped it. So for example, in like rebase C file, all of this was just using pointers, right? Rollback commit head, find branch to rebase with, attempt the rebase, reapply stash changes. But if you really look at this code, you'll realize that the way I approached the branches and the commits was essentially as if it was a linked list. So this was the only time ever that the linked list concept came in handy for me. Damn, looking at this code, I find it hard to even believe that I wrote this shit up, bro. Because I haven't written anything in C in like 4 years, 4.5 years. It's crazy how you can become proficient at something, and then if you don't use it, you forget how to use it. It's kind of embarrassing.
coding, you have a little bit of knowledge to kind of think back on.
Same thing with Objective-C.
Okay, so it's all just going to make a little bit more
I haven't
sense.
written anything Objective-C in like 4 years.
Videos, okay, that you should be able to go through in one day. Okay, so you can read this if you want, but I basically just said that. The previous node is nil because no node comes before it, and the tail's next node is nil because no node comes after it, okay? But then all of these have a value because they're all interconnected, and I'm putting my fingers together right now because that's kind of how I think of it in my head. They're all connected together.
really quick though, I want to see something else. So I did the search for value 55 and that returns index 3, right? 0, 1, 2, 3. Let me change this to 23. I just want to make sure my while loop works properly. It should be value number 2, right? Let's see. Value number 2. Okay, yeah, that worked. Damn. That actually worked. Yo, the thing is that I'm fucking stupid. The thing is that when you come back 5 years later and you write some code, whatever I did here, if I had gone back, if I had a time machine and I went back 5 years and somebody asked me to create a linked list from scratch and then loop through them and find the value and return the node and the index and all that shit, this would have been like very complicated for me to like process in my mind. But now this shit is like extremely simple, which makes me think that maybe even the binary tree that we were talking about before, absolute truthfully, maybe when I get to the binary list, it's not going to be as hard as I remember because I have like almost 6 years of experience now.
Okay. All right. So if you want to talk more about performance,
I mean, it's like you're a fucking senior software engineer. You should be able to figure this shit out, right? I'm such a fucking hack. I'm such a piece of shit hack.
can click on this link. You can Google the performance of a linked list. But again, that's not too important right now. What's important
They'd be able to figure it out.
Kind of start building it out and understanding how it works in code. Now, what I'll be doing is I'll be uploading a course on arrays and linked lists on Udemy, and I'm going to have a section dedicated to performance. Okay. So I'll probably upload a video to YouTube as well on that at some point. But again, this series is specifically just to show you how to build it. All right, so this is our game plan. We're not going to follow it entirely in this order, maybe. We'll see. I think I have a few different ideas. But if you were to follow in this order, you would learn how to build out a linked list just fine. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to be creating a node.
You know what I messed up on here? So you guys see how when I added each one, I just add. What I need to do instead of that is I'll show you guys what I need to do. I just remembered. Watching what he just said, I just remembered. The logic that I have here, while current node equals nil, this same logic, I can just take it. I can take this logic, I can throw it up here in the add. Right? I can throw it up here in the add. And then I can do while current node equals nil, current node dot value. I don't need this. I can just go current node not dot node not equal. No, actually equals nil. Right? If current node equals nil, we're gonna current node dot node equals new node. I don't think we need this else. I don't think we need the return anymore. We can do that. And I think that this gets removed. Here we add an if node equals nil. Let's throw this in here. We do this. And this can be simplified even more. This can be simplified even more. We can grab this function. We can grab this function and we can move it into the recursion. If current node dot node equals nil, new node node index, this in here. I don't think we even need to have this outside the loop. We can just call this same function inside of the thing. Right? So we can call this function in here. If current node dot node equals nil, then we can call the function on itself. So let's grab this and put this back where it was. In here, right? Let's grab this and put it back where it was. And then here, we're going to do current node dot add. And then we are going to, will this work or will it be an infinite recursion? I'm thinking. This might actually make an infinite recursion if we do this. Because won't it always... Okay, I know what we need to do. Let's just do this. Node. This is going to be the node that got passed in. Current node dot node equals new node. This is no longer needed. Right? Because when we do this loop, it will automatically go in to where it needs to go. So in here, we got to do a return so that it breaks free and we don't go all the way into the while loop. Or we could just do an else. You know what? Let's make this simpler. Let's just do else. And let's throw the while loop and all this junk into there like this. So now what we're doing is we're going to call the add function recursively, right? If the self.node equals nil, then new dot this can go in where does this go? New node. This is fine, I think. New node index gets changed to whatever the current index is +1. Self dot new index. We assign it to the node. Else, we go through a loop. Current node equals child node, right? Child node is the node. It's just the node. Which we don't even need to do child node. We could just put node there. I don't know why I created a whole function for this, but it doesn't matter. Child node, right? While the child node is not equal to nil, okay, if it's not equal to nil, we're going to go to the next one. Right? So in here, we got to reassign current node. Current node equals current node equals node. Right? so that it loops again. I think this would work. Current node is not equal to nil. So if it is nil, and if it has a value, we're going to go to the next one. And if the current node is equal nil, do we need this line anymore? We do, because it has to protect it from getting overridden, I think. I think this is fine. I think that's all we need. So then now we can do this. And now I think everything should still be the same, 4 and 2. Let's see. 4. Node index. Where was the 2? What was the 2 for? What was the 2 for? I can't remember what the 2 was printing. What were we printing out? We're looking for 23. So how's it 4? I think this came out to nil. Why? Are we still spinning? Maybe there's a problem with my loop here. Self.node equals nil. If self.node equals nil, we're going to assign the new value to the node, right? Then if it's not equal to nil, if it's not equal to, I don't think we need a while loop. Do we? If it's not equal to nil, I don't think we need this while loop. I think that the while loop is unnecessary. If it's not equal to nil, then we're going to call the function again. We're going to call the function again. We're just going to call it again. Add node. But the node that we're adding it to, take this and throw this out. This needs to be outside of the loop. Current node equals child node. Child node is just node. So then instead of doing self node, we do it. So we still need to do self node, right? We can do current node here. Current node equals new node. And then here, we're going to loop back in a circle again. If we're looping in a circle though, we can't make child node always be equal to child node. That's not going to work either. Child node has to be optional. It needs to be optional. And then we need to make current node equal node. Does that go after or before the recursion though? think it goes after. I have to go after, right? No. That has to go before. Has to go before. And then we don't need any of this bullshit anymore. What we do need is to pass in current node, I think. Even here, this needs to be current node. Right? If current node equals nil, then we're going to add this to current node, right? No. I can't. That's not. It's supposed to be self node because we have to check to see if there's a node already added. Then current node. This right here needs to be self node. Self.node equals new node. And then down here, current node equals self.node, right? And then we're going to call add. And then current node is optional. So this needs to be no longer optional, I think. So we can just do this. And then this while loop that I had is no longer needed. Because the while loop and the recursion of calling itself is the same thing. These two things do the same thing. He says, new generation got companies laying off so many people. A bunch of people at my girl's company got let go. Yo, James, what did your girl do? Oh, so does this work? Let me think this through now, chat. Let's think this through. Let's think this through. We're adding a node, right? We assign that to new node variable, right? Current node is optional, right? If self.node is equal to nil, the new node that we just created, that we passed in, gets assigned to self.node. If self.node is not nil, then we make current node equal to self.node, which is not nil. We add node, current node, back to the function. So we loop around again. I think this is right. This will work. Now let's run it. Damn. I'm wrong. Didn't work. Are we just in an infinite loop? Let's put a print statement here. Print. Either we're in an infinite loop or the computer's just not working properly. Let's go. If we're in an infinite loop, it should just say looping a bazillion times. Yeah, it's not running at all. I think this works, but it's not running. Stop it. Not running. Fucking computer's not running. It's just spinning. Because even if this was not working, like we're calling the add function. This is the add function. When it goes through this the first time, there should be a print statement of looping at least one time here. It's not running at all. I think this works though. I think this works. If self.node is nil, then we're going to add the new node that we're passing in to that value. If it's not nil, we're going to make current node equals self, right? So we're assigning the current node that's not nil, the current node. We're running this function again. As long as this conditional is false, we're just going to keep looping and looping and looping and looping. This is not running. That's what the problem is. Let me kill the Xcode. I hate this fucking computer, bro. I don't know. This computer is too expensive to be giving me fucking run issues. Let's do this again. Open up test. Let's run it. And let's see if it works now. Computer is too expensive to be giving me run issues. It's running. Too fucking expensive to be giving me run issues, man. Okay, so it is infinitely looping. It is infinitely looping. Look. Looping, 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 looping. Kill it. Why are we in an infinite loop? Let's find out. If self.node equals nil. Why can't current node be self.node? We know that self.node is not equal to nil. Is not nil. Current node. Let's do something different. Let's change this to current node. If current node is equal to nil, the first time we do this function, it's going to be equal to nil, right? Right? Because when you make a first value, you can't assign a node. So current is going to be nil first time, always, right? New node, node index, this part doesn't matter. Self.node equals new node, right? Right? That makes sense, right? Current node equals self.node because we already established but this function is looping. This is always going to be empty. Maybe I should have done this with the while loop instead of doing it this way. But I would think that they would have the same outcome, right? Except that with the while loop, so let's just comment all this out. Let's just try using a while loop. Okay. while node equals nil, we're going to loop. And then we're going to do, we can't use self. So we always need something outside of this. So our current selected node equals is going to be one of these, optional, right? And then we're going to loop, and we're going to make current selected node equal node, right? Node is equal to nil, so we can't do that. It's self.node. The logic I have down here should be the same logic. This logic should be the same logic. This might have to be child node. Maybe you have to use the function. Child node. And this is supposed to be while node is not equal to nil. While node, this node needs to be self node, not the node that we're passing in. While self node not equal to nil, current selected node equals child node. The next one, right? The next one. He says, my brother has been searching for a tech job for over 8 months. I suggest he come to McDonald's instead. Oh my God. Okay. So we're looping chat. Self node not equal to nil. When it's not equal to nil, we're going to make the current selected node equal to child node. But in reality, it should be child. It should be this current selected node. Should be this. This should be child node right off the bat. Current selected node not equal to nil. Current selected node is current selected node, child node. Right. And then here, I think if current selected node child node equals nil. This goes before doing this. If current selected node dot child node equals nil, that, right? And I think we just do this. I think that's all it is. So now above all this, if current selected node nil, and we just do that. So now let me think through this. You've got current selected node equals child node. We already know that child node is just a reference to node, which is just this item here. If current selected node equals nil, then current selected node dot child node dot node is going to be the node, right? This might not need to be child node. It might just be this, right? Because we already assigned it to what's coming next, which is this one. Then here, while current selected node equals nil, not equal nil, we're going to rotate through them. If the next one is going to be nil, then we add the value. I think this actually might work. So now let's put the print function here. Print. We can see if it gets locked. Looping. Let's see. This might be what we needed though. When you get into an infinite loop, it locks everything up. So let's just quit and start over. Let's see if this works. I think this is going to work, but I'm not 100% sure because there's like a lot of recursion. Let's see. It should only loop like 2 times. Nil. Why is it nil? Couldn't it be nil? Node index. Oh, it's nil because I didn't add the logic for when you're adding the item. So let me think this through. He says, go ahead and get that CDL, my boy. Oh my guys, I work in the corporate office, so I control him. Let's see here. When we current selected node dot node index. We still need a value for the node that's going in. So var node equals node, right? And then when we added this, we need to also node dot node index equals +1, right? Node index is, oh, it's because this current node. Let's just give it a default value. That works, right? So current node, selected node, da 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 da. If there's no value, then it's going to be 0. We already know it's 0 by default, so it's fine, right? He says, check the syntax. So then when we're adding a new one and it's the first one, we're just going to add 1. Node.x1, and then we're adding it to current selection node, da da da. And that is the child node. But when we're doing the loop, we still need this stupid ass line, don't we? I think we still need it right here. Node.index, current selected node, dot node index +1. I think that should work. So now it should be 2, I think. It's still nil. Oh, he says the do while loop. There's something I'm doing wrong up here at the top. The thing is, it's not even looping. Oh. Equal. Current selection equals nil. No, that's not right. 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 We need it to loop when it's not. When it's not nil. This is just node. Child node is just node. So this is node. The very first time we add node is equal to nil, yes. It should print. It should print something. It's nil. Let's just print it because I don't know what's wrong. Is nil, is nil, is nil. So it calls it 3 times. Why is it calling it? Oh, because I called the function 3 times. So then This might have to be self if self.node equals nil. Maybe this doesn't need to be there at all. Damn, I'm stuck. He wants me to do a do while loop, but I don't want to do a do while loop. I don't want to do a do while loop. He said, check your operator precedence. Their Swift might be evaluating something in the wrong order. I think I'm doing something in the wrong order. The first node is going to have no value for node. Current selected should be nil, right? So then if current, this needs to be there, man. This would need to be there. It would be current selected. If current selected equals nil, then return out of this. Return. The thing is, each time it's still nil. Node index. This is the node that just got passed in. Equals current selection. This. Oh shit, what am I doing? Still showing up as nil though. I'm thinking. Sorry. I'm thinking. Node. We passed in the node that we want to add. That's the node here. Which is not right. Because we don't want to make that node this node. We want this to be self. dot node, which is this node here. Then we want to check if current node equals nil, right? And if it's equal to nil, then we want to current node dot node equals node. I don't think we want to do this. I think we want to just do self node equals node. And then here, we got one that is nil. It went down to the while loop now. We got into the while loop. We looped once, twice, but we were still nil. We're still nil because in here, current selected node dot child node equals nil. This needs to be changed as well. Move that into here. Run it again. So when we assigned the value, right? We're assigning the value, right? If current selected node dot child node equals nil. Current selected node dot child node dot node equals node. The node that we're passing in, right? With the index. Current selected node dot child node. This might not be. I'm doing something wrong here. Something's wrong with my loop. Something's wrong with my loop. Current selected node equals nil will cause us to start looping. If current selected node because you're still speaking Chinese to me. I don't know. I have there's a mistake in my loop, but I can't figure out what it is, bro. Current selected node equals nil. Not equal nil. So we need to go to the next one. If current selected node dot child node, that's the next one in the line, equals nil. Print looping. I think this is wrong. It's supposed to just be this. This. Current selected node dot child node equals node. Okay, so now that caused us to make 2 loops. So now what am I trying to do here? Expression implicitly course int to any. Why? Node index. When I looped and looped, let's do something. Index is current selected node dot node index. So the indexes are incrementing 1, 2. But why does found node not have any value? You see index 1, index 2. So the indexes are going up. And the first one would be index 0, right? You do this. Current selection should be self. This should be dot node equals nil. And you got index 0, 1, 2. Zero, 1, 2. Why does the 55 not do anything? These are all the ads, right? 0, 1, 2. So this should be 0, 1. This should be 1. Get rid of this. Run it again. This shouldn't even be index 0 when you did the first ad, because the initial value Should be 0. It should be 1. This it should be 0 already, right? It should be self. Self node index. Plus 1. And this would be node. Node index. Should be 1. And then when we're doing the loops, there's something wrong with the way I'm adding these up as well. I gotta give myself a break, chat, but I need to look at this later or tomorrow to figure out what I did wrong here. With this quasi linked list, I kind of just made my own up. But the more I'm doing this, I remember now how to do the fucking linked list, so it's not gonna matter. Anyway, we've been on for 2 hours, 30 minutes, chat. I'm gonna call it a day. Hope you guys enjoyed this little crash session. He says, do you have the ability to program very basic games in Swift? I mean, you can program even real games in Swift, but do you want to do that? That's the question. Most of the time, they just do it in C and C++ because those are the languages that, well, C++ because that's the language that's used mostly for games. But yeah, you can program games. He says, do you? Me? Fuck no. Are you crazy? I mean, I guess if I really tried, if I locked in, I guess I could, but do I want to? No, not really. Games have, you have to have a coordinate system. It's just too complicated, bro. I'm trying to keep it simple. I'm trying to keep it fucking simple, dude. I'm not trying to do no crazy shit. Where is this? Where is this guy? Yo, Peter Piper, thank you for subscribing. He says, I came to the conclusion Scott knows nothing about iOS. Rob, I haven't been writing code for like a long time, bro. I'm starting to get back in. I'm starting to get back into the hang of it, though. I'm starting to get back in the hang of it. Like, I wrote all these algorithms from scratch today out of my memory. He says, that's a video idea. Fake iOS engineer. He says, great stream, Scott. WWW. What you guys don't get is that I've been coasting for like 5 years, 4 years. So I got to get back in the hang of things, man. But I do feel like after being a programmer for fucking 6 years almost, this stuff that I thought was very difficult to remember or to do has turned out to be much simpler than I remember. So I'm actually feeling a bit more confident, even though I'm an idiot. I'm starting to feel a bit more confident. Let me call this guy. See if he answers.
Yo, Scott, how you doing?
Dude, I'm roasted over here. I'm doing good though.
On this camera, you called me. I was actually just about to go live on TikTok.
Oh, really? TikTok? What are you doing on TikTok?
Well, on my off time on my YouTube channel, I also have the gaming channel on TikTok. So, I do something with my time. I just don't bum around. But I was going to say, yo, I actually want to see you create something though, like just for the fuck of it. Like, and then it's a win-win. You learn but the algorithms, they're cool. I like the algorithms. You gotta learn them.
The problem is, I think you're onto something. I will, if I don't get a job by then, I will try to create an app because I haven't made an app from scratch in like forever, literally in like 6 years.
So fun to see, bro. Like, I swear that would be so inspirational and fun to just see that process. Like, I really would be so appreciative if you did that. It would be so it would just be fucking cool. It'd be fucking cool. I don't know what else to say.
Because I did, I can show you something really quick. Let me just make sure I don't dox myself here. Give me a sec.
Okay.
I have a website that has my other projects that I did when I was learning how to code. I might just send you the link also offline if you want to check it out.
Okay.
But see if I can show this without doxing myself. I don't know if you still have my stream open, but I made all these apps in the past. I just need, I just need to, I just haven't had time, bro. That's all. And I haven't done this shit in forever, so.
A print shop quoter. Nigga, where'd you get that idea from? Chat GPT?
No, the craziest thing is, well, the print shop quoter wasn't my main thing. The inventory tracker application, that was literally like an app I did. It was the very first app idea that I had because of the job that I was doing. I would have to do like graphic design. And then my boss would come in and ask me like dumb fucking questions like, oh, can you check the inventory of this or that? And at first, let me explain this because I never actually explained this, bro. Rob, this is something you might want to hear too because I've never explained the reason why I even started fucking this coding bullshit. So my boss would come in with some bullshit, right? When you have a job and you do some shit that's like you're a graphic designer and that's what you want to do. That's all you want to do. You don't want to fucking do anything else. Don't ask me to do anything else. So this was one of those jobs where they don't do that, where you have a role, but then they want to like put you into different roles too. Like, oh, go check the inventory or go look at this price or call this customer or do this or do that. All stuff that I didn't want to do, right? One of those things was to check inventory, right? When the company would come in, like the big paper company would come in, they would come in with like a bunch of boxes of shit. And then we would have to like put all that stuff into storage and we'd have to like keep track of how many we had. And I hated doing that. No, they so why? Because
they didn't have any type of inventory system.
No, because they're fucking stupid. Yes, because they were dumb. So to be honest, originally they would just do shit off the cuff. They'd be like, "Yo, this customer just ordered 10,000 envelopes. Oh shit, we only have 8,000." They would like literally go back and check, and they wouldn't have the right amount, right? So they started. They started telling me like, yo, you got to keep track of this inventory, right? So at first I just had like a piece of paper and I would write it down, but it was just too much shit. So then I was like, you know what? I know Excel, right? I was a workforce manager. We used to use Excel every single day. I know Excel. I know how to make formulas. I know how to do all that bullshit, macros and all that shit. So I was like, you know what? Let me just make an Excel spreadsheet that tracks this shit, right? But there was one problem, contents. The problem was that the place where the inventory is stored was at the back of the building, and the computer was at the front of the building. So even if you made an Excel spreadsheet, you'd have to walk all the way across the building to write it down, right? Or you'd have to write it down on a piece of paper or and walk all the way back to the computer to type it into the spreadsheet. So then I was like, you know what would be nice? If I could just have an iPad and be back here and just fill out the fucking inventory numbers from the iPad. And I was like, how can I do that? And I was like, you know what? I can't have an Excel spreadsheet on my iPad. I think that was before the iPads had like the mobile version of Excel, and I didn't want to use Google Docs. So then I was like, maybe I can just make an app to do this shit. But the thing is, I didn't know how to program, right? I didn't know how to program at all. So I was like, damn, I don't know how to program other than like Visual Basic that I learned in college and a little bit of Java. And, you know, the Visual Basic is for like the macros in Excel. So I was like, maybe I can learn how to code for the iPad. So I started doing research like, yo, how do you code for the iPad? And I was like, shit, I landed on the Apple website and was like, oh, Swift. So then I started learning Swift just to make that fucking app. That's what I realized.
Wait. Wasn't it Objective-C back then?
No, the Objective-C ended in, I think, 2015 or no, a little bit longer than that. Maybe like 2016. And this was in 2019. Okay. This was in 2019.
Oh, okay. So you was right on the precipice. Okay, I got you. Oh, that's cool. You was one of the OG Swift developers.
I mean, but I don't know if that was OG because I feel like it came out like maybe 3 years before that. But people were still using.
Yeah, you said the end of the life cycle technically for Objective-C was 2016, and you came in the game at 2019. So that's
3 years, yeah.
there. So yeah, you was a pioneer. What the fuck? It's 2025 and we're still using Swift. So
I mean, technically we're still using it. I mean, they have like SwiftUI and like that shit is kind of the same. I mean, it's based off of the same thing, but it's not like the syntax is stupid.
Now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
I was gonna say yesterday I saw you was coding in Swift, and it's such a beautiful language. The way it looks,
it's easy to read, bro.
It reminds me of Kotlin. You ever heard of Kotlin?
Yeah, Kotlin is literally the copycat language.
Copycat language of Swift?
Yeah, I think that it came out like what, a year after.
No wonder it looks the same.
It literally looks the same. Yeah. At work, whenever I was stuck on a task and I couldn't figure it out, I would go into the Android team's repository and look at their solution. And I would just like, you know, use their solution as a scaffold for whatever I was going to do. So, because we had separate teams, right? We had an Android team, we had an iOS team. So when they have like the acceptance criteria for whatever we're building, it would have like the outline of like the, you know, the requirements, acceptance criteria. And if I was stuck, I would just pull up their code base, and it was close enough that I could read it, you know, and kind of like interpolate what they're trying to do and then be like, oh, okay, they did this way. And then I would like copy if I didn't know what to do. So
yeah, it's weird, bro. I don't know how to code worth a shit, but when I see something, I can tell you what I'm reading.
I would say that Swift is cleaner than Kotlin, because whenever I went into the Kotlin files, it would have a bunch of imports from like Java. And
it was a very heavy code base. I tried learning in Kotlin. I briefly tried to learn how to be a programmer, and Kotlin was the first language I tried to learn. For what reason, I have no fucking idea. And yeah, I did see that. It's very heavy.
Yeah,
that's what you're alluding to.
It just like how Swift has Objective-C that we depend on or used to depend on a lot. Kotlin has Java, and when I would go into their code base, they would have like, you know, at the top of the file, they have like the imports, and it would be like fucking 20 imports. And I'm like, this is a trash language, because in Swift, you literally never almost have any imports. You'll have like import UI kit, and that's it, like one import. So yeah, so I'm like, what the fuck are these guys doing over here? They're smoking crack.
Let me ask you this. How fast is the Swift code base compared to the Kotlin code base? Like how fast? How I don't really know how to ask the question I'm trying.
I don't know how I know what you mean, like resource consumption and memory management is basically what you're asking. I don't know how it stacks up against Swift, because Swift, everything is automated. Everything is handled by the compiler. All of like the, what is this called? Memory counting, garbage collection, all of that shit is handled by the compiler. And I'm not gonna lie, I downloaded the new Xcode on this computer and now it has AI and shit in it built in. So if you start writing a function, it's kind of like it knows what you're trying to do. It will like finish it for you, but like completely. Like, well, like before it would just give you like a suggestion, like, oh, you might want to use this function that already exists. But now it was just like writing code from scratch. So I turned that off for what I was doing earlier, because if I start writing like a binary list or a fucking what was the other thing I was working? A merge sort algorithm. As soon as it sees that I write merge sort, it would just like autocomplete the entire thing. It's like, what the fuck? That wasn't there before.
I know they're gonna be annoying as shit, bro. So what is the compiler written on under?
C.
C.
It's C.
Lord Jesus. So it goes through 3 layers. Is
And
there any
C.
compiler that just uses assembly? Is there any compiler?
Wait. When you say 3 layers, do you mean like the base language, which is Swift, C, and then machine language? Is that what you're referring to?
Yes. So the
Okay,
base language, the base language to what the compiler runs off of to machine code.
Yo, Rob, thank you for the donation, bro. What was I gonna say? Yeah. So yes. It has C in between. C is the bridge. And C is just, I always tell people, look, before I learned how to code, before I learned how to program, I thought that like variables and all these stuff meant something, but in reality, C, everything is just strings. C, in my opinion, is just strings. I don't know if you were on earlier today when I was showing the code that I wrote in C. So I wrote a whole program in C for when you're, submitting commits to a repository. So you wouldn't have to like search for the commit names or like make the stashes manually, or like write your commit message manually, or search for the repository branch manually. Like I wrote a whole fucking thing in C that I used every single day at my job. Which is kind of bad because when you make a tool like that, you forget how to do it like the normal way. But the good thing is I still have the tool on my old computer. So when I get a new job, I'll just copy paste it and put it in the new computer and I'll just keep on going.
Sneaky bastard.
But I would use that program every single day, and that was in C. And when I learned how to do that, right, I taught myself C just to make that program. And
The fuck?
yeah, I mean, shit, bro. I mean, that's how you learn, right? When you have a task contents that you're trying to, when you have a task that you're trying to fucking complete, or a goal or a project that you're working on, that's the best way to fucking learn. That's how like I said, I didn't even finish the story of how I learned how to code. So the company had us making this fucking inventory, like, tracking inventory manually. And I said, you know what? I'm tired of doing this. I'm going to make a program where I can just have my phone or my iPad in my hand. I can look at the fucking envelopes and be like, 10,000, 5,000, 20,000. There's this amount of this. There's this amount of that. And I just went home and I started like learning how to fucking code because of that. And can you like imagine you don't know anything? You don't know what the IDE is, like the, Xcode. You don't know any of the syntax of the language. You don't know absolutely anything. You had to learn all that shit just to get to your goal. Right?
Well, luckily, isn't an inventory management app, wouldn't it just be basic like addition and subtraction under like a UI?
Yeah, but remember that it has, I think I still might have it on my phone. It has like a lot of stuff in it. It wasn't just basic. Here, I still have it on my phone. So the name of the app was Inventory. I gotta turn the lighting down. Inventory tracker. And when you open the app, it would show you the vendor. I did a lot of shit, bro. It has the vendors. It has the inventory
database. It's a real database coded underneath that bitch.
It has a paper calculator. It has an expense calculator.
Okay.
It had like the map for the for the vendors. It had like all kinds of little graphics, like when the paper runs out, the guy would have like different animations and shit. It would have like a bunch of different things.
Now you know them animations was completely overboard. You really had
Well, yeah, because I'm learning. Look, the thing contents is that the thing is that I built the app to fulfill the role, right? But once I learned how to code, you start getting ideas like, oh, it would be cool if it has this. It would be cool if it has that. It would be cool if you do this. It'd be cool if you do that. It even had a feature where you could put the vendors in and the list of vendors would show up and you could click on the vendor. It would have the vendors, all the vendors' contact information. I got to lower this again. All the vendors' contact information. And then you could like select. Like I hit email by accident. Delete draft. Let's go. You could select like their email, their phone number. And if you click on like phone number, it would try to call them. It would ask if you want to call them. Like it would have everything, bro. It had everything. It had their address. It had their email. It had their everything. If you pulled up click on their address, it pulled up the map, showed you where they were on the map. Like all that bullshit was just because I'm learning and I'm like learning new things as I go. And I'm like, you know what? Let me add this feature. Let me add that feature. Let me do this. Let me do that. And before you know it, you have a full-on fledged app. Like honestly, if I really wanted to, I could have grabbed all that stuff, went to the Mac, got there's another thing you need to use when you're making for the Mac. It's the same Xcode, but it's like a different layout. And I could have used all that stuff and made an actual program for the Mac. And then I could have gone to like a print shop convention and I could have sold that shit and got like people to sign up. Because the other thing is that the company, the print shop had another thing they used, which was quoting software to make their quotes. And they were paying that company like $300-400 a month for that software. And the software was bullshit. So by the time I learned how to code, I told the owners like, yo, you know what? Give me those $300 a month and I'll make you this program to keep, to do the estimates. And the estimate shit is easy because the estimate shit is just what kind of paper is it? What size is it? How many do they want? And that's it. That was easy.
Nigga, motherfucker was coding that in BASIC. What?
They had, it was web-based, the one that they had. It was web-based, the one that they had, and it was just JavaScript, and it had like all the prices, like the bulk price of every item, and then it would break it down based on how much was going to be used and like the waste product and all that bullshit. But it was like simple, and I was like, I can do that. Like I looked at it and I was like, I can do that. Now I know how to do this, I can do that. So then I did that as well. And then after I finished doing all that stuff, I started thinking like, yo, I know how to program now. What can I do with this? So then I started signing up. I signed up for like the meetup groups and I started meeting up with like other developers in my city, right? And that's where I got the brilliant idea to get a fucking job doing it because I kept meeting fucking these dumb motherfuckers that would know how to, like there would be niggas that would know how to program like a motherfucker, bro. I mean like master programmers. And they'd be like, I'd be like, yo, what do you do for a living? I drive Uber. It's like, what do you do for, I'd be like, yo, what do you do for a living? Nigga be like, yo, I work at McDonald's flipping burgers. I'm like, are these niggas stupid? Because at that point, I had already started looking on like the job websites and I started seeing like all these jobs that were like 200,000, 150,000, 300,000. So I'm like, I'm going to the meetups trying to figure out how to get a job, right? Because I still don't know like the process.
And none of the brokies there got a job.
All the brokies there had no jobs. And they were like doing dumb shit like, oh, let's build an application that will help the city management control the homeless population. We'll make an app that can schedule when we're going to be doing food deliveries and like all kinds of bullshit they were doing. And it's like, but none of y'all niggas have jobs. And I went to a conference at Full Sail University where there was this guy, bro. Oh my God. I wish I could go back in time and punch him in the face. There was this guy. He was the guy who was giving the lecture. And this motherfucker had made a weather tracking application that was being used by like a bunch of fucking aerospace companies, the major airlines, airports, fucking air traffic control. And this nigga was like, you know what? And I'm worried because I've had to remortgage my house and I might have to close down my application because the costs are getting too high. And then somebody had asked him in the conference, like, so how much are you charging for the subscription? And he's like, it's open source. I'm not charging anything.
So he was relying on donations. And he was complaining about how he didn't make any money.
And the cost because of the servers and all that shit. I'm like, yo, like these guys, they
realized Does he realize that something can be open source, but he can make a closed source component of it? Did he not realize that?
In my opinion, fuck all that open source shit. Look, I think that
that's how you feel.
There's two types of people that are in tech, man. There's the people like Steve Wozniak, and then there's the people like Steve Jobs. I would consider myself more of a Steve Jobs than a Steve Wozniak, bro. Like, I want to walk in that bitch with a fucking suit, with a rollie on, pull up in the fucking exotic car and shit. Like, I'm not trying to be some fucking engineer talking about, guys, I figured out how to fuse two atoms together, and I'm going to do it for free, and I'm going to give the world free energy. Let's do fission. Nuclear fusion, guys. I discovered it.
So let me ask you,
like, I don't care about...
What told your brain, like, yo, I want to see if I can become a content creator other than you being like a luxurious, freelance programmer somewhere living off of an app he sold 10 years ago? What was like the thought process that went into that?
I just think that having a bunch of money, if you got it in a nerdy way like that, is corny.
Wow.
Like when I pulled up at a car show or something and I had like an exotic car and some money and nice clothing, and if some guy pulled up and he was a fucking rapper, right? And he had a worse car than me, but he was like well known, I'd rather be that guy that has like the worst car, but he has like, people are like, that guy's cool and what he does is like fucking cool, than being the guy who's like, oh, this guy has a lot of money, but he's boring as hell and whatever the fuck he does is super uninteresting.
You make money from typing.
It's boring, bro.
Interesting. Like,
it's uninteresting.
Like, nobody has to know what you do. Like, it's like you make money from magic, nigga.
No, but I just think it doesn't hit the same way, man. Like, I'd much rather be the content creator that pulls up and is like, I'm the content creator and I made this money with content creation, than be the guy who has the same amount of money, but he got it by sitting in a cubicle.
I mean, it is a substantially cooler.
Yeah.
I mean, substantially.
Way cooler.
But for the nerds out there, like, what you do right now is way cooler than what a rapper does. Like, I mean, I guess it all depends on what community you're appealing to. Because from a nerd perspective, nigga, what? I'd much rather talk to a rich programmer than a rich rapper. What the fuck is that rich rapper gonna inspire me to?
Are those nerds getting bitches?
Programmers get plenty. Okay, let's not act like them niggas in Silicon.
Even though I'm not on the market, but I'm just saying, just the perception alone, like, oh, I got guys, actually, I've just discovered that if you divide this by 3 and you invert it, you'll get this, guys. That's way less cool.
It's a fucked up stereotype of programmers, and you know it.
Nah.
It's a untrue, not true fucking
I'm gonna be off in like
the programmers.
Oh, well, we gotta get the food in a second, babe. Get dressed. So, yes, you're right, Contents, but I don't know, bro. Because in my opinion,
you a programmer. Look at you.
I'm a coding. What is the word? I forgot what it's called. I'm a coding bro.
Okay, so that means that you're just like not a poser, but just like not that deep in. You're
not that deep, bro. Like these guys. You remember the guy I just mentioned that had the weather app and he's just giving it away for free? The reason they do that is because these guys they got what I call engineering brain, where they have like no other ambitions outside of just making something that they think is cool. So then they'll stay in their house all day. They're the same kind of guys that will have like a fucking model plane collection, right? And they're in their house building the model plane. Oh, yes, guys. Look, this wheel was actually 13 inches in diameter, but I've changed it to 10 inches, guys. It's so cool. And it's like, dude.
Them type of people make the world go round, Scott. Show some fucking respect. Them type of people are necessary to make the fucking world spin. Think about the open source guy that made Chromium. You know what? Fuck you.
I'm the kind of guy who would come up with the first model plane, and then I would like industrialize it and I would just sell it to other dweebs, and then I would be like on an island somewhere. Like, I'm not gonna be in my basement doing it for free with nobody even watching me. Like, I don't understand that kind of thought process. But a lot of those engineers, even the ones that I worked with at that company, they were very like retarded, if I can use, that's the right word to use, where it's like, yo, dude, like part of the reason why we all got laid off is because of these fucking idiots. Because instead of them locking in and like just trying to make the money for the company, they would be like sidetracked. Like, the deadline is tomorrow. We need the release to be completed today so we can move it into quality assurance so we can get it done by next Monday. But you'd have some stupid fucking engineer being like, actually, we can't release it because whoever wrote this code, when you write a class, it's supposed to have a capital C, but they made them lowercase c's. So now we have to go through the entire app and correct every single C that's in lowercase because they should all be capitals. And it's like,
I couldn't be a manager. I couldn't be a fucking manager because I would say, nigga, fucking do it. The release is fucking tomorrow.
oh no, I would say the contents, but I'm saying that the opposite. I'm saying that guy, if I'm their manager and that guy comes to me and says that dumb shit to me, I'm gonna be like, you're fired. Like, we don't give a fuck. Like, we're just gonna release it like how it is. Like, that's the difference between the engineers and the suits. You gotta have a balance. This is the problem I have because I feel like I'm more of a suit than an engineer. But the problem is that sometimes the suits also go overboard, where the game or whatever you're working on is not even done. And they're like, we're releasing it. And it's like, dude, but it's not done at all. And it's like, we don't care. It's the fourth quarter. We're releasing it. You need to have like a balance between those two types of mindsets, but you cannot be completely engineer brained because the engineers are fucking stupid. They're smart, but they're so smart that they're stupid because they get hyper fixated on stuff that doesn't fucking matter. And that I would tell them in my fucking team, I'd be like, yo, guys, we're about to lose our jobs because you guys are so focused on adding a new feature to the product when we have a deadline to meet. So forget about that. Or they'd be like, oh, we need to change. Okay, perfect example. Inside the application that we were building, there was a staging environment and there was a production environment, right? And the staging environment had the staging URLs, right, for that environment, like the server URLs, all that bullshit. The final version of the application cannot have logs on and it cannot have staging URLs in it.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And I would tell them, like, okay, we need to make sure that we remove all logs, all logging, all staging URLs. From my perspective as a person who's money driven and deadline driven, I know I can just go in myself, search, and find the URLs and delete them, and find the logs and turn it off manually. But these fucking idiots, the guy who was delegated to do this was like, I'm going to write an algorithm that determines what environment the application is in. And if the application is, if the application is built.
As soon as he said, I'm going to write an algorithm, you're fired. The fuck, Scott? I would have fired all of these niggas, bro. And I don't even do this shit. Just, please, somebody hire me as a developer manager. Please.
There would be times, contents. You know how there's like a brute force way of doing stuff, and then there's like a elegant, efficient way of doing stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes there would be a feature, right? And somebody would have wrote it, and they just everything they did. Like, let's say we had to go through the accounts, and we had to find like the user's balance. So you had like an array of users, and then each user had like the different items, and then one of those items is their balance. So you have to go through the entire array of like 1 million fucking people to find the particular balance for certain people, so you could send them out a message, right? In mass, like, oh, every user that has a balance below $25, let's send them an email that says, oh, we're running a special where you can up your balance back up to 100 for half the price, right? You can get up to $100 in your balance for the cost of $50. So there's a brute force way of doing that where you just literally just double loop, right? Yes. Well, no, you still have to need an algorithm, but you're double looping, right? So you're looping through the list and you're looping again. So it's like a double loop. So the O time of that would be n square, which means that it's going to take longer to process. But this device has like, what, 16, 18 gigabytes of RAM? It doesn't fucking matter. Like, oh, you're going to save half a fraction of a second if you do it with a more efficient algorithm. But these fucking idiots would be like, oh, bro, this is a brute force. They used a brute force strategy to solve this problem. It's inefficient. So we need to come up with a more efficient strategy. And it's like, bro, this is a mobile device.
Come on, talk to him.
There's no reason for, like, this device is so fucking powerful. Unless we would have to have like 200 million users for it to even be noticeable to the user. Like, oh, the spinner, instead of it spinning for 30 seconds, it spins for 50 seconds. Like, are you stupid? You're gonna put everything at risk for a delta of 20 seconds? Like, you're a fucking retard. But they would constantly do that. And like, after a while, when you have a app that has multiple features, multiple teams, and there's multiple people doing that, it compounds and it slows everything down to a point where nothing can move. I would tell my buddies there that the whole application that we were selling to the company, right? By the way, which is like, they made like literally millions of dollars from this app. This app generated, I'm going to say $27 million a quarter, right? Which I don't know if I'm even allowed to say that on stream. I mean, fuck.
You're so not. You are so breaking your
So
like, but okay.
So even though I don't know, there's a person in here that it works at my company. I remember seeing the 26, but it might have been 26 a year. I don't remember if it's 26. It's probably 26 million a year, not a quarter. But either way, the app is making a shit ton of money. And I would tell these people like, yo, this application, I can get 3 good engineers and we could have built this whole application ourselves. But the reason why we can't do that in a company is because every single person in the company who's an engineer or an analyst, they just don't have the mind. They don't have a business mindset. They don't have a business mindset. Like they want everything to be super duper perfect and refined. And it's like, dude, like we're just trying, like, it doesn't matter. That's the whole point. And I hate to say it this way, is it doesn't matter. All that matters is that it works.
I'm sorry, Scott. Y'all deserve to be fired because at the end of the day, as the manager of that team, if you can't fix that, if you can't get them together, like what are we paying you for, bro? Like I would have fired all of you guys without a thought, bro. And especially you.
Content.
On maternity leave, especially you trying to go on maternity leave. You need to get the fuck out of here, bro.
I haven't even got to the good part. The suits, because the suits have a different problem. The suits have the problem of documentation. They love to have meetings that are really long, 2-hour meetings, 3-hour meetings, where they drag you in there. They make you stop what you're doing. Your whole team now is not working. We're going to have a refinement meeting. We're going to have a planning meeting. We're going to have a retrospective meeting. We're going to have a scrum meeting. We're going to, like, they start making up fucking random meetings. We're going to have a team update meeting. We're going to have this meeting, that meeting. And
wow.
They would sit in the meeting, and the whole purpose of that meeting, it doesn't matter what the name of the meeting is, by the way. If it's a retrospective, it doesn't matter. If it's a refinement, it doesn't matter. If it's a planning meeting, it doesn't matter. If it's a fucking architecture meeting, it doesn't matter. Every single meeting always concludes in the same request. How much time is it going to take so we can document how much time it takes so I can tell my boss how long it's going to take. The meetings all had different names and different topics, but it was always that was the cusp of the meeting was that was the purpose of the meeting. I need to get an update so I can tell another person that information. But instead of just being straightforward and sending out an email and being like, yo, give me an update, what's the ETA? I'm going to have a long, elaborate meeting where we waste a bunch of time discussing shit that's not getting written down or documented, just so that at the end I can be like, so how long is that going to take?
Wow.
And having those meetings every single day, multiple meetings by multiple different people, that shit's going to make the whole process is just like, it's like they're in mud, like nothing is moving because the people that are working aren't, like the engineers themselves aren't producing because they're all stagnant and they're hyper focused on stupid shit that doesn't matter. And then the people that manage them and plan and organize, they're not doing anything because they're hyper focused on getting numbers that fit a certain outline so that their boss can give them a pat on the back.
Well, if I was the CIO, I'm firing all y'all. Fuck it. We purging the whole fucking system. fuck it, all y'all ass.
I mean, it's
the management ass, the coders are ass.
it doesn't make any sense because the people are just like their motivations don't add up to like the interest of the actual business. And I get that the numbers that the suits want, they intrinsically do mean something for the business, but the way you're obtaining the numbers and your hyper fixation on the numbers itself becomes detrimental to achieving the numbers that you're trying to achieve. It's kind of like when I worked in a call center and we had a rule where it was like, oh, you can't go on the floor with a cell phone. And then one day the power went out, right? There was an emergency. The power went out and all of the computers are off. There's nothing that you can steal or, there's no way for you to rob information. I pull up my phone to make a phone call and my manager comes running to me and says, you can't have your phone out on the floor. You're written up. And they write me up. And I told them like the purpose of the rule, the reason the rule is implemented is because they don't want people to steal information from the computers. But if there's no power in the building, then the rule is already null because there's no power. Like, how the fuck am I going to use my phone to steal information when there's no fucking computers? There's no electricity in the building. So it's kind of like the same scenario with the programming thing, except that it's like an abstraction of that. Like, you have these numbers that they tell you they want to meet. Those numbers, in order for you to meet them, the engineers need to be working to complete the tasks at the time frame necessary. But you're asking so many fucking questions and stopping them so often that it becomes like a fucking catch-22. Like, you asking me where I'm at and stopping me from doing the work that I need to do to reach the goal itself stops me from reaching the goal, which then gives you bad numbers, which then gets you in trouble. And then you get in trouble, and then by extension, since you got in trouble and got yelled at, now you come back to me and you're going to yell at me. But you're the cause of the problem because you keep stopping me from working to ask me stupid questions.
Wow. Well, I tell you what, Scott. Because you asked me what I'm passionate about, and I am literally extremely passionate about technology, and I can talk to you about this all fucking day. But I got to get my TikTok started. You gotta go get groceries.
I gotta get Bailey some food.
I'll let you in stream and I'll drop off for now. We can continue this conversation at a later date.
Okay, sounds good, man.
All right.
Yo, Rob, thank you for the donation, bro. I appreciate it. Anyways, guys, I'm gonna end stream. Thank you guys for sticking around. Catch y'all later. Peace.